you're a beginner or novice pickleball player, listen up because this is for you. I've sorted through the wealth of information out there to bring you my 3 favorite tips that are gonna level up your game quicker than anything else. So let's get into it. There's tons of information out there from YouTube videos, Instagram posts, Facebook groups, and the guy at your local rec play who thinks he knows everything. So how do you know what to listen to? Well, I'm gonna give you what I think are the 3 most important things you should be focusing on as a beginner player. And if you do these 3, you're gonna get better faster. So my first main tip is pretty simple, and it is that I want you to understand pickleball and understand kind of the purpose of why we do what we do. So I think it's really, really important to know the why and to understand why we do what we do. So we're gonna use the height of the net strap as our cutoff point, okay? So the idea is that anything that our opponents make contact with below the height of that net strap, we refer to as unattackable. If they're able to make contact with it above the height of the net strap, then we call that attackable. And the reason is if you're hitting it above the height of the net, you're able to hit down on the ball, which means you can hit with a lot more force and power into the court and also get it to the feet of your opponent easier. If you're hitting it from below the net, you have to hit up on the ball, which means you can't hit it as hard because you might hit it out, you might pop it up to the other team. So that's a lot more difficult shot. So the idea with the soft game is if we hit it softer and we get it to land in the kitchen, that's gonna force our opponents to be making contact with the ball more consistently below net height, which means they have to then in turn hopefully hit it soft back. So that becomes the game of why we're hitting it soft. If I hit the ball too hard, the ball stays on its plane longer. It doesn't want to dip or drop. Therefore, there's going to be a better chance that our opponents are taking a higher ball, which they can then put down at our feet.
Another look here.
Well, he set that up because he started the speed up first one right at Klinger.
So understanding that concept is absolutely fundamental to improving your pickleball game because we have to know why we're doing the things we're doing. Now that we understand that concept, the really basic rule that we want to follow in pickleball that you could apply almost all the time is if my opponent gives me an unattackable ball, so I'm making contact with the ball from below net height, then I want to hit soft, try to land the ball in the kitchen, and try to give them an unattackable ball back. If my opponent kind of messes up, they hit a shot too hard or too high, and I have an attackable ball, so it's up above that net, then I'm gonna go ahead and hit hard, hit down into the court, and try to, attack and play some offense. So that's kind of your black and white rule that you want to follow in pickleball. So for the second tip, what I want you to do is learn to focus on your court positioning. So one of the most common mistakes I see at the beginner or kind of novice level is we stand there, we watch our shot, we wait till our opponent hits it back. Once they hit it back, then we react to it and go chase after the next ball. And then we just follow that process. We hit it, we wait till they do something, then we react to it and go chase after it. Now, what you're missing there is you're missing some valuable time. So when that ball is traveling away from you, so if I just hit a shot and the ball's going towards my opponent, rather than just watching and waiting and see what's gonna happen, we wanna use that time to better our position. Now, most of the time in pickleball, better your position means move forward. Doesn't always, but for this purpose, we're gonna assume most of the time it's move forward. One of the most common examples I see of this all the time is the return a serve. So if you're the returner and you hit the return a serve back, 100% of the time, while your ball is traveling, you should be running as fast as you can up to the kitchen line to try to get there by the time your opponent's hit. You have a much better chance of success when you're forward in the court up at the kitchen line, especially if your opponents are still back. So before we focus on technique or how we hit the ball or a lot of that stuff, one of the biggest adjustments you can make is just getting yourself to a better position on the court. So our basic black and white rule that we're gonna follow here, and we're gonna kind of build on what we talked about in our first tip, is if we hit a shot that's unattackable, meaning our opponents are hitting it below net height, we're gonna try to move forward in the court. We're gonna try to better our position. If you hit a shot that's attackable, so you popped it up a little bit, they're gonna be able to hit down, then we're either gonna hold our position, we're not gonna advance forward, or if it's really high, we could even use that time to back up a little bit. So attackable, move forward, unattackable, hold, and try to defend. Okay, so for our first tip, we talked about shot selection, when and why I'm hitting certain shots. Second, we talked about positioning on the court. And now for our third tip, we're gonna talk more about kind of technique or execution. I'm gonna give you something real simple to focus on here. The biggest mistake I see across all levels is taking the paddle too far back, okay? So if we can keep everything that's happening in front of your body, you're gonna have a lot more success. I've got kind of two easy ways that you can focus on this or think about this or trick yourself into doing this. The first would be, and you can try this, if you stand there and put your arms out so that they make about a 90-degree angle. So like half of a square, okay? I call this like the V. And your goal is to play everything inside of this V. Keep the ball in the V, keep the paddle in the V. In essence, everything is kind of staying more or less in front of your chest. So we're working really hard to keep everything that we do, our shots, our paddle, the ball, in front of us. The second way you could do this is you can grab your paddle, take a look at it, and just note what color it is. So I've got my blue Selkirk paddle here. When that paddle's out in front of you in your ready position, your eyes should be able to kind of see that blue in your peripheral vision. As I start to take that back behind me, even looking at you in the camera, I can still see this paddle in my peripheral vision. Once it starts to get too far back, that blue leaves my vision. I can't see it anymore, okay? So the easiest thing to do is when you're playing, keep your paddle, or keep that color of your paddle in your vision, in your peripheral vision at all times. If you can't see it, it's too far back. If you can see it, then you're pretty much kind of keeping it in that V that we talked about. So that should be a real simple thing that you can go out on the court and try to put into practice right away. So when you watch these videos, I know it can be tough to actually remember this stuff and take it out on court with you. So I've created a little summary screenshot that you can take right now. Screenshot these main points from this video, and then next time you're out on court, you can pull it up, review it, try to put them into practice, getting that pickleball game to the next level. So thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks.